Even to this day, there are questions that scientists still ponder about ancient civilizations like Atlantis, the Bermuda Triangle, and the construction of the pyramids, which were themselves a subject of debate. Were the pyramids energy stations for a civilization more advanced than ours? How did the pharaohs create sarcophagi weighing 30 tons from graphite stone and place them in narrow spaces, unless they were intended for another purpose and not tombs? But that's a separate topic. So, the hypothesis that there were civilizations that preceded us in the history of the Earth and were more advanced than us but were wiped out or became extinct is plausible. Many hypotheses have discussed this possibility, or the idea that Earth was visited by other civilizations is also a possibility. As the scientific saying goes, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, meaning the lack of proof for something doesn't mean it didn't exist. I started with this because of the point I want to raise now. What if the journey of Dhul-Qarnayn was in space and not on Earth? I know the hypothesis may be shocking and different, but let's analyze the verses mentioned in this story. Try to read the text with an open mind and form your opinion at the end. And they ask you about Dhul-Qarnayn, say, "I will recite to you something of his story. Verily, we established him in the land, and we gave him the means to everything." 1883-84. When God spoke about Dhul-Qarnayn, it was in response to a question from the Jews to the prophet about him, as he was a mysterious figure mentioned only once in the Torah, and not at all in known human history. The Jews considered it a challenging question for the prophet. God tells us in the Qur'an that he empowered Dhul-Qarnayn on earth. The word empowered has many meanings, including giving someone a means of power, making them capable, or placing them in a high position. Regardless of what the interpreters have said about Dhul-Qarnayn, whether he was a ruler, a great conqueror who reached the east and west of the earth, or a prophet, what can we say about the empowerment mentioned in this verse? And is there any other mention in the Quran of empowerment similar to what Dhul-Qarnayn received? Yes, there is a verse in the Quran that illustrates a form of empowerment God gave to one of his servants. The one who had knowledge of the book said, "I will bring it to you before your glance returns to you." 27:40. This was someone to whom God had given knowledge and abilities beyond those of the jinn, allowing him to bring the throne of Bilqis to Prophet Solomon in the blink of an eye. What kind of knowledge or technology enabled him to do this? So, we can say that all interpretations up until today have focused on the word empowered, interpreting it as referring to kingship or authority, similar to how it was used for Prophet Joseph, and thus we established Joseph in the land so that he could settle wherever he pleased. 12:56. However, the empowerment given to Joseph was specified within the same chapter as being related to his ability to interpret dreams and serve as a ruler in Egypt. But for Dhul-Qarnayn, the situation is different. God gave him access to everything. Looking at the Quranic style, this empowerment doesn't necessarily mean authority or kingship. It could take other forms like the empowerment given to the one with knowledge of the book. What's interesting here is the repeated use of the word means or sabab in the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, so he followed a means. The word means and its derivatives are mentioned 9 times in the Quran, 4 of which are in the story of Dhul-Qarnayn in Surah Al-Kahf. In the other instances, means is mentioned in Surah Ghafir, verses 36 and 37. And Pharaoh said, "O Haman, build me a tower that I might reach the means of the heavens, and look upon the God of Moses." The meaning here is that Pharaoh asked Haman to build him a tower so that he could ascend to the heavens and see the God of Moses. The word means is also mentioned in Surah Sad, verse 10. Or do they have the dominion of the heavens and the earth and everything between them? Then let them ascend by means. Again, the interpretation here suggests ascending to the heavens. Another mention of means is in Surah Al-Baqarah. Those who followed will disown those who followed them, and they will see the punishment, and all means will be cut off for them. 2, 166. Here, many interpreters believe that means refers to their inability to reach the heavens through their supplication. The final mention of means is in Surah Al-Hajj, verse 15. Whoever thinks that Allah will not help him in this world and the hereafter, let him stretch a means to the heaven. Again, the word means is directly linked to ascension to the heavens. Pay attention, God does not place any word in the Qur'an without significance. And it's clear from all these verses that means refers to rising or ascending to the heavens. Let's continue with the story of Dhul-Qarnayn. So he followed a means, 1885. This means Dhul-Qarnayn travelled and ascended into the heavens, whether through a means that God provided for him, or with the help of other beings who assisted him on this journey. Notice that God did not mention that Dhul-Qarnayn moved with an army or a military campaign. The entire story indicates that he was alone, so he followed a means. Until when he reached the setting of the sun. This answers the question about whether Dhul-Qarnayn's journey into space is logical. As I mentioned earlier, on Earth, there are thousands of sunrises and sunsets depending on your location. The sun can set in one place and rise in another simultaneously. God even mentioned in the Qur'an, "And we made the people who were oppressed inherit the eastern and western parts of the land." So the Earth has multiple sunrises and sunsets, not just one. Thus it makes no sense that the setting of the sun here refers to the Earth unless Dhul-Qarnayn ascended and followed a means, rose into the heavens or space, and literally travelled westward toward the setting of the sun. Another notable point is that in Dhul-Qarnayn's story, setting of the sun and rising of the sun are mentioned together, while in other instances, sunset or sunrise is mentioned alone. Until when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it setting in a murky spring, 1886. The description here is akin to the sunset on Mars, the red planet, which fits the Quranic description well. But let's go back to the term Ainin Hamiyar. There's a natural phenomenon called geysers, which are hot waters that burst out from the earth. Some interpreters considered this to be the meaning of Ainin Hamiyar. But interestingly, Mars also has Martian geysers, and they resemble the description in the Qur'an even more accurately, due to the red soil of Mars and the hot emissions that continuously burst from Martian geysers. Continuing the story, and he found near it a people. We said, "O Dhul-Qarnayn, either you punish them or treat them with kindness." 1886. He said, "As for those who have done wrong, we will punish them, and then they will be returned to their Lord, who will punish them with an awful punishment. But as for those who believe and do righteous deeds, they will have the best reward, and we will speak to them with ease by our command." 1887. Here, he found people on Mars who complained to him about the injustice they were suffering and asked for his help in ruling between them. Strangely, without any mention of war or confrontation, they requested Dhul-Qarnayn to judge them as if he was a person of superior strength, knowledge and technology. So they asked him to set laws and rule over them. Thank you for joining us on this journey through ancient civilizations and the intriguing story of Dhul-Qarnayn. See you in the next episode.